So I just want to spend today's video going through my new sketchbook. David got me this Winsor Newton A5 300 GSM watercolor journal for Christmas. I also have an A4 one, but I haven't got into that one just yet. I'm not big, or I never used to be as big on doing much sketchbook work. I do a lot of like loose pieces, but this year I want to really try and practice on working in my sketchbook. I think working in a sketchbook makes me think to not put so much pressure on myself to make a really good piece and think like that it's going to sell it or whatever. If it's in a sketchbook, obviously it's in here, and then it's just for me, I can work on things that I want to work on and just thinking about enjoying the process more of painting rather than what it's going to look like at the end. As most people, I guess people have a lot of kind of reference pictures they save all the time, so I've kind of been actually trying to tackle that because I have a lot of images saved and packed away and then I don't do anything with them. So here I am with my sketchbook. Thought I could start doing sketchbook tours. So this will be what I've done so far for January. My sticker on it. I've got that one on the back with my website. I guess if I ever lose it, but I should never lose it. I don't really take it anywhere. Just keep it at home. I've got these little cat tabs. My friend got me these. They're like little post-it notes. So I was like, that's really cute. So I'm using them if to planning what I want to put in the sketchbook, so like the ideas for each of the pages. So today I'll take through what I've done so far for January, and then we might do a painting at the end, maybe the next prompt I have lined up, so we can have a little bit of a painting process included. When I got this as well, I wanted the hardcover option. You could get a softcover option, but I like the sturdiness of the hardcover. It's not a flat lay. I mean, the first page is always pretty flat lay style, but it's okay. I just kind of push the page all the way open. Haven't worked over both spreads yet, or if I will at all. Yeah, here we go. So the first painting in the sketchbook, I wanted to jump on the Lunar New Year for this year. It is Year of the Tiger, and I thought it'd be a really nice idea to try and get down a tiger. I remember last year I wanted to jump on, it was Year of the Ox, and then I did like a sketch, one of my sketchbooks that just have really rough, unfinished sketches in and heaps of empty pages and scribbles, but then I never actually did it. So I thought, well, if I'm wanting to get into my sketchbook and get things down, I'm gonna do it. So I did this tiger. I worked with my Ecoline inks, so I would have used these. Got these from Royal Talons. It's quite different working with liquid watercolor than like normal watercolor tubes. They're like so pigmented, but they're watery. So yeah, they're really different to work with, but I really, really enjoy them. So I used those with my Faber-Castell pens. I got these Artist Pitt pens. This isn't the color I used. In my sketchbook, I've been working with outlining everything with these. So they're waterproof, so I know I can use these first. They've got a really good fine tip at the end, and then I can paint over them and I don't have to worry about them bleeding. And I like the brush effect rather than just the solid nib like what a lot of the Micron pens come with. You can control the pressure of the pen and create good like brush strokes. So I've been using them, so I would have used a warmer colour. I think warm coloured tones are really my favourite. So obviously in here I would have used the magenta for the darker parts and the vermilion. This one is my absolute actual favourite colour of these, the vermilion colour. And then I would have used a little bit of orange and the yellow as well. So I used all of them in this one, and then I would have gone over the top with my Faber-Castell Artist Pitt brush, the brush pen. And then I did highlights. So I really like how I did the highlights for the white part. I like the dot work that I added in for adding highlight bits on this. I haven't worked with dot work a lot, but I liked the combination of just smooth gradient with the ink and then layering with the dot work. You can see here where the ink from the other side has come through, so I overworked the paper a little bit when I did the wash. So I did a really light wash for the background with those inks. I just really watered them down, and then I went in pretty much with just the pure watercolor ink without any watering down for the actual tiger. Just worked on blending. That's another thing with this notebook or with this watercolor journal. The pages don't buckle at all, and I would have laid a lot of water on this, especially for that background, because for the background I do kind of a wet on wet, and I was worried at how kind of buckled the paper was going to get. But it didn't. So I thought this was a really cool start for the sketchbook. I was really excited, really enjoyed how all the colors came together. So on the next page, I wanted to do another tiger. This time I did portrait. Just even on the last one, I haven't worked with landscape in a while. I think a lot of my paintings have been portrait style, but I went back, I wanted to do another tiger, different kind of pose. These colors are a bit more vibrant. I didn't wash down the background as much, so it's a bit more vibrant, and this one doesn't have as much of the magenta color in it. It's very there's a lot more lighter orange color in this one, and then more of the red. So I did the stippling again. I really like how I did it on the face and on the paw of this one. Really adds a nice level of highlight, a little sparkle in the eye. Did it on the other one as well. I really enjoy doing the watercolor wash for the background, and then going in heavy with the pigmented watercolor, and then layering on top with the brush pen, so you can really get the layers of kind of texture and detail in it, and then topping up with the white highlight pen. So this one came out more redder than the last one. As you can see, this one's a lot more, once you look back, it looks a little bit more muted, that's the right word. And then this one's a bit more fiery in this one. So I think I was going to try and see if I could do more tigers, especially with Lunar New Year now in 2 days. In 2 days? What day is it today? In a few days. It's not the end of the month yet. I'm thinking of 28 days in February. Cool. So I've done that one, 2 tigers, and I might see if I can do another one. So the next page, this one is very cool colors. So over the Christmas break, and we went up to David's parents' place up the coast. They caught a lot of crabs up there, and so there were blue swimmers and mud crabs, and I was like, I want to paint a blue swimmer. So when we came back, and after I did the first 2 pages, I sketched down this blue swimmer, and then I picked out my cooler colors. So again, we used the magenta Ecoline, and I used the blue Ecoline as well, and then I also used the purple. So the 3 colors I used for this one. Same deal, I did a super washy background. I never really care about where the colors go. It's like super streaky and patchy with where the colors are, but it's just a light wash just for the background. I think it's nicer to do that than just like leaving it blank. Nothing too solid though. Then I go in really heavy with the pigmented watercolor ink. Topped it up with Artist Pit brush pen again, and the white jelly roll pen. Just kind of played around with where I wanted the highlights. I wasn't really thinking about it too much. I like doing this kind of squiggly kind of lines, and then I did more of the stippling. I was getting the basic kind of patterns that's on the shell, but I wasn't trying to follow too closely. I just tried to keep it pretty loose. It's got these little eye sparkles. Yeah, I'm not sure why I really enjoy the warmer color palette more than the cool, but I did still really like painting this one. So yeah, this was meant to be just practicing like a blue swimmer for like a kind of bigger conceptual idea that I have. So I want to use this A5 sketchbook for kind of standalone solo kind of things like this, and then in the A4 one I want to practice more conceptual and pulling these ideas into something bigger. So this just lets me practice with colors and how I'd want to paint something, but I haven't put anything in the A4 one yet. So once I do a few in here, more ideas I wanted to get down, I think I got to get cracking on the bigger concept ideas. So the next page, this is where I really started to get into the idea, or making sure I got down paintings of reference images that I had saved. So I think I've had this kingfisher image saved for a really long time. I was like, look, I just need to get it down. I need to like stop overthinking what I'm going to paint, things like that, and just kind of get them down, you know, and then they're done, they're out of mind, and then you can move on to other things. I think a lot of the time, maybe not even with just me, think too much about ideas to paint, and then when do you actually get any of them down, you know? So, but yeah, I did this wasn't as light, but it was a pretty rough kind of grey wash background. I like the streaky kind of texture, just adds a bit of texture for the background, nothing too flat, but not too much. So I went in with the vermilion again, and then the blue and the purple, and then obviously I used the brown as well. There was lots of layering of colors in this one. When I mix it with the white ink, I'm not sure if it's always like this, but this white ink that came with it, it's really thick, so it almost feels like gouache. I don't think it's supposed to be though. I'm not sure, or if it's meant to be that kind of consistency, but it's really thick. And if I mix it a little bit, because I would have mixed it a bit with the purple and the blue just so I could create more layers with the gradients of the colors, it makes it more opaque, so I can layer it more. Normally with watercolor you layer from light to dark. Somehow with this I can do it the other way around. So I've gone over with this one. I didn't even use white gouache, I used this and went over the top. So it's cool. I kind of did that as well when I joined in on Peachtober last October. I used all of these inks. I think someone asked if I'd use gouache, but if I had mixed white to pastelize or lighten up any of the colors, I just use this, and it's meant to be liquid watercolor. So that was cool anyway. You can see I added like metallic highlights like on the crown, and then some of the just some light feather kind of details. So for this, I've had this watercolor palette for a little while. It's like a metallic set, the Van Gogh. I got this also from Royal Talons. I hadn't used it yet because I've been overthinking what to use it with. I even got black watercolor paper and I haven't cracked into it yet. But I thought I need to start practicing and see what to do. These are all the colors you get. I have swatched them all out. You can see how these are called the translucent colors. So if you look at them just from above, they just look like white. If you actually put them down on white paper, they actually look kind of, they have a yellowy tinge to them. But as soon as you put them on an angle, you can see what color they actually are. So you can see it's blue, purple, green, red, and yellow. I mean, it almost looks gold. So I have swatched all of these out so I can remember which ones are which, especially with these. But essentially we got silver, light gold, like a darker gold. Then we got copper, bronze, graphite, and that one's white, I think. So I swatched them on white paper and black paper just to see the difference. You can see the difference the most with these ones because as soon as you put these translucent ones on black paper, they really stand out as the color they're meant to be. But on white paper, they don't really show out as much. They're more like a highlight feature you'd put on over something that's already painted. So I'll show you the swatches. So I swatched them on here. So you can see on the black paper just how blue and purple and green and those translucent colors come out. And then you can, even from above, you can still see it. But then when you go to the white paper, you can see they look just like a little bit yellowy, a bit of a faint color. As soon as you go on the angle, you can see it though. But I think those ones are really good for black paper or if you're painting over paint that's already there. I swatched these and labeled them in the order as they are on the palette. So they're easy for me to remember, but I've got my head around it now anyway. And then I wrote the list at the side. Yeah, I mean, this gets me really excited to actually use these on the black watercolor paper I've got, but I'm just kind of overthinking what to actually paint on it. I think I have an idea, but so I'll start kind of getting it down in my sketchbook first, and then I can start really getting into it on the black watercolor paper. So the next page, I was really proud of this one. This one is with gouache as well, but it's a lot more fine. It's not as loose as the other one, as the bird. This one is based off a photo that I took at the local pub with David. They've got these really old school looking like lampposts there. David was like, oh, I love those. They remind me of Harry Potter, and I was like, oh, I'll take a photo and I'll paint it. So, and I was like, I have to make sure I get it down because I'm all about just, if you get the idea, get it down and do it. Don't pack it away and let it sit in the ideas folder for 2 years. I got down straight away. I didn't do any outline with the brush pen this time. I just kind of did my pencil sketch and I just wanted to go right over the top and just get in really fine. So I did the background a lot more opaque. I didn't kind of do a light wash at all. I wanted to keep the moody dark greyish colour. We kind of went in the evening, but I've kind of did my own take of the background. Painting lights is kind of new for me, so I kind of just had a play. I was like, I got to practice with keeping it a bit transparent because it's a globe and it's just meant to have the glow of the light. Even coming in the outside, added the yellow highlights along, and even on the leaves for the light shining. Even the leaves, that was good practice for me, layering from darker leaves behind with light ones in front to give the plant that was next to it a bit more depth. Put the photo next to this as well, so that you can see this next to the actual photo. So I'll put this a bit left, and the photo can go here. So that was really cool, and I actually got a lot of good feedback of that one on Instagram, because trying to film more of my process, I always look back and think, oh, I wish I filmed more of that. More so for me, because I like watching back and seeing how I paint things. Even when I watch back to like a year and a half ago, just seeing how much things have changed and how I approach layering and details and things like that. Yeah, so that's my first kind of real kind of detailed gouache piece, I think. Yeah, so I'm really proud of that one. So the next one is these bunnies. Okay, these bunnies. So I've had a reference picture saved of these. Someone commented and goes, oh, Rex. And I was like, the name? And they were like, no, they're Rex bunnies. I was like, oh yes, I hadn't looked at the breed of them, but they are. So it was just like a photo of these two black bunnies. And I was just like, I'm going to take it and see what I can do with it to make it my own. and I thought, oh, I'll make them kind of like these magical bunnies and put them in a lavender field. And once again, I pulled out the watercolor Van Gogh palette, and I used the translucent purple. So this is where you can see where if you show it above, you can't really see, but as soon as you go on an angle, you can see the translucent purple really shine. So I really like how if you catch the right angle, you can catch that. So I put that on the bunnies. I put the graphite metallic in the eyes, and I gave them little crowns. There's obviously a star and moon in the background. Conceptually, I really like how this one came together and how I really took a reference and made it my own, rather than kind of copying an image for exactly what it is. I like that I put my own spin on it, so that was really good practice. With the background, I obviously kept it a lot more opaque and just kind of layered from light purple to a darker purple. Practicing layering with the lavender. So I painted all the bunnies first, and I kind of layered over the feet and things like that. Yeah, another one that I was really happy with, really proud. I got a lot of video footage of that one, so even now, it's been a week or two, I'm still watching back, seeing how that one came together. This next one, when we put the Chromecaster on the TV and I put anything on, obviously Google cycles like these random images, and there was a photo of a clownfish. And David was like, oh, look at the clownfish. He was like, paint it. I was like, okay, that's next in the sketchbook. So I got it down. So I wanted to do a combo of like this teal, aqua, viridian kind of color with the blue for the background and pair it really nicely with the orange. So I used gouache for the background on this one, and I used a brush pen for the outline, but then for the actual fish, oh no, I did use gouache. So I used this orange gouache color I had, also from Royal Talons. So because when I got gouache from them, I just got 3 colors. I got this one, a purple, and a green. So I thought, oh, I can use this. As I was painting it though, I was thinking of this orange, and this one is so vibrant, and I thought if I used this on it, it would have come out really, really bright. At first, I kind of was layering with this with the different shades. I kind of made it a bit darker and a bit lighter in places. But then at the end, once I finished it, I did go over with a wash of this. So, but it just really made the colors pop more once I added that on. So I did the orange. After I did that, I was like, I gotta go in with these. So I had an idea to match the background to use the translucent blue from the watercolor palette. So it could be kind of like silvery, but have that blue hue as you got the angle. It didn't turn out as planned. This is when I found out that if you don't use it over the top of like something already painted or like a darker colored paper, that it's just going to show up yellowy. So I'd started painting it along here, and I was like, why does it look yellow? Even when I went on the angle, it did show up the blue a little bit, and I was like, oh, but if you look at it straight on, it's just got like a kind of funny yellowy tinge. I was like, it's not really what I want. And then I tried to go over with just the white metallic, and there still wasn't enough of a base underneath, so it wasn't doing anything. Kind of layering the metallic over the metallic, just it doesn't really work. I then tried to layer over even just with the silver metallic. If I went with that first, I think it would have been okay. To start with, I should have painted like a layer of gouache lightly of like a soft color or something like that. In the end, I had to go in with like a silver pen that I have. I went in with this Sakura Pen Touch silver pen, and I did it with this. So I actually did a few layers of this. I think 2 layers with that pen. And now obviously when you see it, you can see it's just a really strong silver color. So that took a bit of trial and error and play, which was fine. That's what the sketchbook's for, is figuring it out. I get worried and think something's ruined. Once I did that, I went in, added the black kind of lines that are around the clownfish stripes. And then I went in with the regular gold watercolor pen and added a bit more of the detailing lines around the fin and the tail and things like that. For these spotty metallic bits, I just kind of added for a bit of texture on the fish. I mixed the copper color with the orange, and I got a really snippet of kind of mixing that on the palette. And when I did the video, because that's this color here in the palette, but when it was wet, it made such a nice kind of flowy paint. When you looked at it, it kind of looked like creme brulee, the toasted bit on the top. So I might add in a little squidge of that here so you can see that video, because it's just really satisfying. And then I wanted to add a little crown. I like adding little crowns on top and then little sparkles. Yes, that's how that one came together. Glad I learned some things with that one and how to use the translucent colors and things like that. So yeah. Okay, up next, we did, okay, did this owl piece. So once again, I'm pretty sure David was like, do an owl. I was like, okay. And then based off the lamppost kind of one from before, I was like, oh, I really like the Harry Potter theme and the magical theme. I was just like, well, better whip up a little bit of head wigs. So I kind of found a few different reference images. I found like this bird I liked, and I found another image of like an owl on a tree like this. There's a bit of trial and error with the background, so I had this idea of trying to make it all kind of foggy and a bit blurry in the background to give a bit of depth. It's not like a technique I've practiced much, so I was trying it with the gouache, and if I started with gouache I should have just tried to work with watercolor, because I don't really like how gouache turns out when you water it down too much, and I wasn't really enjoying the texture because I'd done the background and then I was kind of adding more color layer on the tree stumps. And at first I was trying to go with the idea of lighter in the background and darker in the foreground. I guess it depends how you look at it, because sometimes I think of darker background, lighter foreground, so the front stands out. But yeah, you can see in progress videos that I'd gotten where I was trying to layer it and I kept changing my mind, putting branches in and trying to smudge them, and it wasn't coming out how I liked, so I just was like, I'm just going to go in hard with the gouache on the tree stumps here, and then I did like the darker leaves right at the back, coming off these little branches I did, and then I just laid up that many leaves all over that you can't really see them anymore, so it's just a big shrubbery background, which is fine. I didn't mind it came out like that, going with the initial idea. Maybe that's just something I can practice more. Yeah, so, and I really enjoyed, I kind of went with that Viridian green again, added a bit of grey tones to it. So once I did that, I went in with the tree stump. Didn't worry too much about how the texture was going to go. Start it dark, lay a lighter gouache over the top, bit of edging on that, and then I went in with the owl. So I kind of just blocked out where I wanted the lighter bits and the darker bits, because I knew I wanted to do white kind of feathering lines. You can't even see it that much. I guess you can see it a little bit. I tried to work with like a bit of a grey, because if I do the whole owl white, I don't have anywhere to go with then adding highlights. So there's like kind of a darker grey scale for like the shadowy bits to give shape, and then there's a light grey for the background, so then I could go in with the white highlights for the fur details. And then I went in with the spots. So I was like, I can be so loose with these spots, they're super kind of irregular shapes. So I went in with like a really, really light brown and then laid up darker and then went on top with the black. So that was really cool practicing. David saw it and he goes, oh, that's different to how you normally do birds. Because normally when I paint birds, they're with watercolor and they're very kind of fine detail and things like that. And this was a bit more loose, but I really enjoyed it. And then for the eyes, I was like, I make the eyes gold. So I whipped out the watercolor metallics again. Added a nice little crown, a little moon crown, and then I added little gold highlights in the tree stump as well. So again, much like the clownfish, there was a bit of trial and error with that one. You know, if you don't like something, you just layer on top of it again. There's no worries. So I really liked how that one came out in the end. So on to the next one. The other day, I woke up early. I couldn't sleep. I think there was noises, kept waking up. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to get up. And I thought, I haven't picked up and just drawn a graphite drawing in a long time. Like a decade maybe. A lot of what I do now is just like, I'll do a sketch and then I'll paint it with gouache or watercolor or like use the brush pen and whatever. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to whip out the graphite pencil. So I've got it covered just so the graphite can't go onto the other page. I had this photo saved of my hand. So I'll put the photo here as well so you can see. And in this I have my Sarah Gardner rings on. So I'd eyed off this pretzel ring for a long time. Last year I actually bought it. So got my pretzel ring. And I got this little groove band stacker. And then I got a special little aquamarine, because the aquamarine stone is a special one for me. So I took this reference photo like of my hand. I guess you can kind of see it. I can't hold it exactly the same. Yeah, I whipped out the graphite pencil and I kind of practiced. When I used to do graphite drawing, I didn't do like cross-hatching shading. I'd be a more like standard shading with the gradients and whatever, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to go in kind of rough, do these kind of cross-hatching shading. I probably could have gone darker with it. Considering I haven't done anything like that long time, I was kind of happy with it, and I thought, you know, I'm going to add a gouache pink background, and I wanted to whip out the metallics for the rings. That was a lot of fun. I think I might practice more with the graphite pencil and pairing it with gouache and metallics in ways. It's a really great way to practice shading and things like that. Once I'd done that, I was nearly thinking of like even painting over the hand. My initial idea was to paint it with gouache, but I thought, you know what, I will just leave it as it is. So that's like quite a different page in my sketchbook. I'll try and do more things like that. Maybe do more poses of my hands. Obviously painting jewellery is something very new as well. I used the gold for like the base, and then I went in with the copper to try and add shadows. I went to try and add in the graphite watercolor, but then it was kind of merging too much with the graphite look of the pencil, and I used the translucent blue for the aquamarine stone. So yeah, and then I stuck in this little piece so it doesn't smudge or go onto the other page and things like that. And obviously I only had Christmas washi tape, so got nice little candy canes there. Now that I've got my rings on, I will just leave them on. So next page, I think this is the last page I've done in here so far for the year. Back to the theme of Harry Potter. I saw this picture come up, and I think everyone remembers this scene. This is the movie where Hermione is getting called a mudblood from Malfoy, and she gets really upset, and she's telling Hagrid that he called her this foul name, and she's so sad, she's about to cry, and Hagrid's like, oh, don't let him call you that, you're a great person, la la la. Anyway, I always really like that scene. Her acting is so well. She's so young, and she's got the watery eyes going on, but it's just such a nice gesture. And I saw the photo of the scene come up online. I thought, you know what, I'm going to save it and really practice with painting like a scene. So I was like, this got me practicing with perspective, with the background. Obviously Ron and Harry's there because Ron's spilling up his slugs. In the background I was like, yeah, I'm going to take that out. So I did that, him with his chair. I didn't worry about going in too much with details, like with their faces. It's not really what I wanted to go for. It was just more like bringing the whole piece together with just not honing on anything too fine. So I'm really, really happy with how that one came out. There's no metallics in this one. I kind of focused on just trying to add the colour roughly on the wall. I didn't want to be too particular with the panels. Just kind of putting in the colours where like the shadow under that, and this getting a bit yellowy around those lights, and obviously it's darker in the back of there and lines up at the front, and then I just went in with some white to add some like panel lines. Yeah, I don't know, I'm really happy with how this came out. Really nice scene. I might practice more scenes, then it gets you practicing more full pieces with backgrounds and things like that. Yeah, so that's what I've done so far. I don't think I've done so many kind of paintings in a month before, even in a sketchbook, so our goal this year is to fill this up. Thanks guys for tuning in and watching my sketchbook to a video. I realized once I started editing it that the video is long enough now without the painting process. So I did do that portrait painting, but I think I'm just going to save that for its own video so I don't have to rush it and keep the video too short, because now we're about half an hour now. So thanks so much. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Let me know what you think or give me any suggestions for my sketchbook. And I look forward to keeping you updated with what I get done in February. Bye guys!